Hey guys, how you doing? Back again, which means only one thing. We've got a fight card this weekend. The Tough Brazil 2 finale from Fortaleza, Brazil, which is being headlined by Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira against Fabricio Werdum in a rematch from way back in the Pride Grand Prix days, maybe 2006 it might have been. Uh, and the tough finale final, William Macario against Leandro Santos as well. Back in Brazil, always love watching the cards from Brazil. We've got some new fighters that we're going to see for the first time as well, so that's always exciting seeing some new talent come into the company. Um, just a couple of words about UFC 160 a couple of weeks back. I really enjoyed the card from top to bottom. A lot of really good fights. One of the big events that I've really enjoyed over the last kind of year. I enjoyed UFC 157 this year, but I put UFC 160 up there as well. Glover Teixeira looked an absolute beast, finishing James Tuhuna. Junior Dos Santos versus Mark Hunt was an absolute war. Santos, I thought, looked really good against a really good opponent, and he's got kicks there now as well. And of course, there's Cain Velasquez, who just absolutely ran through Antonio Bigfoot Silva like kind of most of us thought he would. There. So as I say, we've got this fight the card from Brazil here, and then I think we're in Canada for UFC 161, which is now headlined by Rashad Evans against Dan Henderson. But that's for next week. But here we're going to start off with a couple of fights. I'm just going to quickly go through them as quick as I can. Antonio Brago Neto against Anthony Smith, both newcomers to the UFC. Brago Neto is a beast on the ground, two-time World Jiu-Jitsu champion, four-time Pan American Jiu-Jitsu champion. So he's obviously going to take this to the ground. I don't think he's been beaten at all. Anthony Smith came over from Strikeforce. He fought Labumba Sayers over there. He beat him, and then he faced Roger Gracie, one of the best on the ground, and lost by submission in the second, if I remember off the top of my head. So I'm going to go with Brago Neto here to start off a win for a lot of the Brazilians on the card, I think. So yeah, Brago Neto by submission, round number 2. Next up, we've got Chau Magalhães against Carlos Vemola, who fights out the London Shoot Fighters team. He kind of wins one, he loses one. Vemola, he lost. I think his last win was Mike Macenzio. He lost to Ronnie Marks in there as well, but he fought up at heavyweight and he's all the way down to middleweight now. So I think this is a tough fight for Vemola. He's been out for, in fact, both these guys have been out for nearly a long time. Vemola's at a year in July, and Magalhães is fighting for the first time in a year since they were in Brazil last year. I'm going to go with Magalhães by decision here. Could be a close fight in the middleweight division, but just Magalhães because he's in Brazil. They seem to get a lot of decisions over there, so it'll be close though. Next up, we've got Rodrigo Dam, who's coming off a loss to Antonio Carvalho against Mizuto Hirota, who's coming off, I think he lost his last fight in Japan on the Stan Vanderlei card. Let me see. Yeah, he did. He lost to Rani Yaya, and before that he lost to Pat Healy as well. So he's got a fight here against Rodrigo Dam. As I say, he's coming off a loss to Antonio Carvalho. So I think this could be another close fight. But I'm going to go Rodrigo Dam by decision. Next up, we've got Eldemir Alcantara against Leandro Silva. Silva's a newbie to the UFC. Alcantara, I think it's his second fight. He fought Wagner Prado up at 205, I think it was, and he finished him off the top of my head. I think he did. Alcantara, he's got a brother in the UFC as well, so he's been around for a little bit. With his brother being in the UFC and stuff like that. Leandro Silva is 11-0-1. He's only got a draw that kind of blemishes his record. But I like Alcantara in this fight here by submission. Yeah, I'm going to go submission in the first round. No, the first round, sorry, the third round. Next up, we've got Felipe Arantes against Godofredo Castro Pepe. Not the biggest fan of Pepe. He thought he was a dick on the show. I thought against Ronnie Jason, who he lost in the tough final, I thought he was a bit of a dick there. He talks a lot of shit. He's kind of a boring fighter. He's coming off a win over. Let me see. He did beat somebody. I think it was maybe back in January, if I remember right, when the UFC were back in Brazil. Yeah, Milton Vieira. That's who he beat. He beat him there. Arantes, I think he's coming off a draw. but could be wrong there. I'd like Arantes to win here. I think Godofredo Castro Pepe will sneak a decision. I don't think it'll be a great fight to watch, but I might be completely wrong. So next up we have Ronnie Marks against Derek Brunson. Now these are two guys that this could be another stinker of a fight right here. Not to try to put a down on the card, because when they go to Brazil they always put on a great fight. But Derek Brunson was horrid in his last fight against the returning Chris Lieben at UFC 155, I think it was. Ronnie Marks is actually on a win streak at the minute, and he's beat some decent fighters. He beat Vermela, Aaron Simpson, Andrew Craig back in January as well, all by decision. So that I think this will go to decision. I don't think it's a far to say that. I think it will go there. Derek Brunson, I say 10-2. He came over from Strikeforce against Chris Lieben. He looked horrid, but his last two fights before that he actually lost to Jacare, who is one of the best, and Kendall Grove, who is a tough winner from the past. He's not doing too great right now, but he's still somebody decent to face. But I'm going to go Ronnie Marks here by decision, just for the fact that Derek Brunson was absolutely horrid in his last fight. He could have probably, if he got leaving down, he could have probably pounded him out, but his cardio was horrible. But I'm going to go Ronnie Marks to open up a 5-fight win streak in the UFC middleweight division. So yeah, Ronnie Marks. Next up, we've got a fight I'm looking forward to seeing. Rafael Assunção against Vaughn Lee. Vaughn Lee's been kind of up and down. He beat Tezuka in London back in February. Assunção has only lost to kind of really, really good fighters. I think Uriah Faber, Eric Koch, and he's coming off a really decent win over a top guy in Mike Easton, who lost to Brad Pickett earlier on in the year as well. I think it was in Sweden. So yeah, Vaughn Lee, most probably known for his submission of Kid Yamamoto. But I'm going to go Assunção. I think he's going to knock him out. I think he's going to do it in the first round as well. Next up, we've got Ronnie Jason, a guy I love watching fight. He put on a really exciting fight and stopped Sam Cecilia last time out. And he's against Mike Wilkinson here, who's making his UFC debut. No, in fact, he's not making his UFC debut. He fought Brendan Loughnane back in, I think it was maybe Australia. So Ronnie Jason, he looks very, very crisp on his feet. I think he's very dangerous on the ground as well. This is going to be a tough fight for Wilkinson. His UFC baptism, especially in Brazil, against Ronnie Jason, who I think is making a bit of a name for himself in the UFC in the featherweight division. So I'm going to go Ronnie Jason. I think there might be a bit of grit here from Mike Wilkinson, and he'll take him to decision. But I think I'm looking forward to seeing Ronnie Jason again. He's just somebody that excites me when I see him on the card as well. And this is another fight I'm looking forward to. It's the next one here, and the guy that I'm still high on, no matter if he lost to John Fitch last time out, is Eric Silva against Jason High. Now Jason High is making his debut in the UFC as well. I'm going to start with Eric Silva. Young kid, 28. He's looked great in the UFC. He's looked really, really good in the UFC. Beat Luis Ramos with a KO punch at UFC 134 in his debut. Got fucking shafted against Carlo Preta, which that's actually a win for him, because Carlo Preta was just being a dick and Yamasaki was being a tit as well. Beat Charlie Brenneman by submission, and then was in the fight of the night against John Fitch, and he actually made John Fitch look exciting as well. But as I say, Jason High, first fight in the UFC. He's on a win streak at the minute. In fact, it's not his UFC. I forgot. If it faced, they've got a common opponent here in Charlie Brenneman, way back in 2010, where he lost, and then he beat Jordan Mayen, who's a really top fighter. Beat Rudy Bears, Quinn Mulhern, Nate Moore. So he's on like a 5 or 6 fight win streak at the minute. He's coming in here. I think he's replacing John Hathaway, who pulled out through injury. I think he was stated to fight in this card anyway, but he stepped up to face one of the best, I think, in the welterweight division in Eric Silva. I think Eric Silva will win this fight. I think it'll be another tough fight for him, but I think he will get a finish. I think he'll submit Jason High. So Eric Silva submission, second round. Next up, we've got Daniel Sarafian against Eddie Mendes. Now Sarafian, he was a bit of disappointment away back in January against CB Dolloway. I thought he was going to absolutely ruin CB Dolloway. Dolloway came out with a decision. I think I maybe went for Sarafin for a decision, but I couldn't really give it. He looked sloppy. He didn't look great at all. I think this time he will come back and he'll look a lot better than what he did back in January. And he's got an opponent here in Eddie Mendez, a newbie to the UFC. He's fights out of Sun Valley, California, and he's a 7-1 record, 7-1-1 record. So he's he hasn't really faced anybody with kind of any pedigree. So this is a big fight for him in Brazil. Here, I like Daniel Sarafin. I think if he shows what he showed on the tough show, this will be a very, very, very tough fight for Mendez here against Sarafin. So I'm going to go Sarafin by knockout again in the second round, which I seem to be picking a lot. I need to stop picking second round. Next up, we've got a really, really, really good fight. It's Thiago Silva against Rafael Feijel Cavalcante. Now, Cavalcante is a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He beat King Mo Lawal, which is always good to watch King Mo get blasted out. And Thiago Silva has been in the UFC for many years. He's been banned a few times for illegal substances. I think this is his first fight since probably Alexander Gustafsson, all the way back. No, in fact, Nedkov he faced in Macau, and he actually won that fight, but it got overturned because he tested positive for marijuana. So, and before that, he lost to Alexander Gustafsson. Gustafsson is one of the best at 205. I think he'll face John Jones next. And before that, he beat Brandon Vera, which again he got banned for a urine sample. So, but he's fought some of the best in the division. Rashad Evans, who he lost to by decision, he got knocked out by Machida. I think Cavalcante is going to knock him out here again. He's going to get knocked out in the UFC again, and he might just get his orders to kind of leave the UFC. He's kind of given him a bit of trouble over the past. So I'm going to go, but as I say, Cavalcante himself has actually been, he failed a post-fight drug test against Mike Kyle last time out, so he's fighting for the first time in a year. Before that, he beat Yoel Romero by a spinning back fist before he lost his title to the legend that is Dan Henderson away back at Strikeforce. So I'm going to go Cavalcante. I think he's going to knock Thiago Silva out, and he's going to do it in the first round. I think he's going to catch him. I think this is a fight that he should win fairly easily, but you can never know. They're both bangers. They'll go out there and they will trade and slug, and we'll see. But I think Cavalcante will catch him with something and take him out. Next up, we've got William Macario against Leandro Santos for the tough finale welterweight championship title. Not title, the winner of tough. Santos, I think he's coming in. He lost in the semi-finals. I think it was Ponte Barrio that he got injured. I think he broke his fist, and Santos lost in the semis. It's coming in. I haven't watched that much of this tough. I might actually try and catch up this week. Macario, I think, is undefeated as well. One of the guys, I think it's Macario's out of shoot box, 6-0. As I say, I haven't really watched much of it, but what I've seen of Macario, he's looked very, very decent. So I'm going to go Macario by decision here. I think it'll be a nervous fight, and I think that Macario will just get the decision. I think he's just a little bit a better fighter from what I've seen, which is very limited, which isn't much at all. I think Macario will lift the welterweight crown in the tough two. And next up, we've got a fight in the heavyweight division between the coaches of Tough Brazil 2, Fabricio Werdum against the legend Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Now, these two fought all the way back, I think it was 2006. It was 2006 against Nogueira. Nogueira won a decision in a fight. I think it was a decent fight, if I remember right. But we'll know about Werdum on the ground. Nogueira is exactly the same on the ground. They're both very, very, very decorated when they go to the ground. So this is probably going to be a stand-up fight, and I don't think Nogueira's chin is anything what it used to be. Even though he's coming off a couple of decent wins ever since that Frank Mir, when he snapped his arm. Ever since, probably, in fact, saying that, maybe Cain Velasquez away back at UFC 110. Now we all know what Cain Velasquez is like. He's one of the best in the division. It might be the best heavyweight we'll ever see. Um, I think his chin will. I think Verdum's looked really, really good with his stand up, his kicks, and his punches. Probably since he left the UFC, he went to Strikeforce and he submitted the great Fedor. He beat Big Toe. He lost to over him in his last fight there, but he's coming off a couple of wins over Roy Nelson, who's tough to beat, and he knocked out Mike Russell, who was on a win streak himself. Rodrigo Nogueira, can't say much more else than him. He's a Pride champion, he's a UFC champion. He will go down as one of the greats in the sport. Hopefully, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Everything else, but I just think I think Verdum's going to beat him here. But when we've seen what Big Nog's like when he fights in Brazil, he's a different animal. He's a totally different animal. We saw that against Brendan Schaub, where it was really good to watch. He's coming off a win over Dave Herman way back at UFC 153. But he's kind of win and lose. He lost to Frank Mir, he beat Randy Couture, he lost to Velasquez, beat Schaub, lost to Mir again, and then he beat Herman. I just think he's going to get caught with something, and I think Verdum's going to knock him out. They're not going to submit each other, one of these guys, I don't think. So I'm going to go for Fabricio Werdum by knockout in the third round. I'm not sure if it's the 5-round fight, it probably is. But I'm going to go for a third round knockout by Fabricio Werdum. So that's my picks for the card. I'm on a pretty good streak with picking fights at the minute, to be honest with you. You should go to Tapology, start up your own picks up there, and you can see how you do. I'm on a really good streak at the minute with some fights. My cards have been quite good. I've been like 9-2, and I was 12-1 for one as well. So you should go and do that. You should follow me on Twitter, BigBulber7MMA. Come discuss some few things. I'm really excited for the summer ahead. We've got Tough starting. I think this is going to be the best season of Tough ever. I think the wealth of talent in the women's division is going to show, and we're going to get some new challengers coming through, and we're going to have some great fighters, additions to the UFC as well, probably some veterans that you've already heard of, and there's going to be the men and women, and you've got better last week, even though I feel bad for Kat Zingano, who earned her way to face Ronda Rousey and coach on the show. Misha Tate has come in because Zingano has got injured and she had surgery on her knee. With they two, you're going to get fireworks. They had a great fight away back in Strikeforce where they built it up, and we all saw how nasty Ronda Rousey was to Misha Tate then. I just think this is going to be a great season. I thought that last season was a great season. This is going to be just as better, and we've got the added thing with Brian Caraway being there as well, which might have some fireworks with it there. So come and follow me on Twitter, BigBulber7MMA. Sorry, we can talk MMA all day there if you like. Like the video, if you could please share the video, I'd greatly appreciate that. Try to make my way in this. I enjoy doing it. It's something I like doing. So share out there with the MMA world. And that's pretty much all I am. That's all me until next week for UFC 161 from Canada. So enjoy the fight card this weekend. I know I will. And I'll be back with a video for next Monday for UFC 161. So enjoy the card. Take care, and I will see you all soon.